Hello and welcome back. I'm going to jump straight in on this episode and deliver some potentially frustrating news, which is that I am going to take a 1 month break from the podcast. I'm hoping that by the end of this episode, you will go, "Oh, I understand why. That makes sense." And that's probably for the best creatively. Or it is at least a worthwhile experiment. And maybe this will inspire you to do similar experiments in your life. Make some hard experiments, some hard choices to see how much some big changes might help. And that's kind of the theme of this episode. We'll talk about games first. We'll talk about big changes in the games industry and just kind of think about how much it's changed in my lifetime. And then we'll talk about development and why I'm taking a little break from the podcast. And my first episode back, which should be on June 8th, I've already got it in my calendar. I've got reminders set up. It will either be a continuation of the podcast or it'll be, hey, we're wrapping this thing up. It really depends on how I feel not recording it. Do I end up looking forward to it again like I did when I first started the show? Or does it somehow hold me back creatively, which is something that I've been concerned with recently, which you may have heard through the episodes. Anyway, let's get into it. This is Game, Develop, Repeat, and I'm your host, Chris. Thank you, as always, for joining me. The games industry and my relation to games have both changed dramatically over the course of my life. When I first started playing games, it was just something fun I was doing with my brothers or something to fill the time. It was always on a console. I remember when we first got the Xbox and we got Morrowind on the Xbox. And this was pretty late into me playing games, but it's one of the earlier, more formative memories. We were playing Morrowind on Xbox, and my brother got it for PC. And I was like, why would you do that? I like playing it on Xbox. I've got all this cool stuff on Xbox. Why would I do that? I've got my save file here. And my brother's like, you can have my save file on the Xbox. I'm going over to PC. I'm like, this guy just gave me all of his Daedric equipment. This is cool. Played around with that, and then eventually he showed me what he was doing on the PC version, and I was like, oh, you can just mod this? I didn't even know what that meant. And then he started showing me stuff. He's like, oh, I can make my own custom race. What? I can make my own items. At first it looked like cheat codes to me. And then eventually I was like, oh, this is a whole different thing. This isn't just cheat codes. This is adding your own spin to the game, adding your own creative thing. And I don't remember if this was before or after the whole Morrowind thing, but I remember Warcraft 3 mods, or custom maps, I should say, custom maps on Warcraft 3, and my brother making those and having very cool custom map ideas, and then just playing custom games and seeing that process and making your own map and all the thought and intense design that went into that. And the fact that you could not just make your own terrain, but you could make your own entire level with its own rule sets and its own units using the assets that already exist in the game was mind-blowing to me. And this is sort of how my perspective on games started to change from this is just an experience that I go through to this is something somebody made. And it's not that I looked at it and went, I want to make games. It's just that I looked at it and went, oh, that's interesting. You can do that? Is this how they made the game? How did they make this thing that lets me do this? And I saw some of the details and was like, oh, this is less approachable than just playing a game, right? The custom map editors have certain levels of comfort, right? If you're just modifying the terrain, that's kind of set up for anybody to do, right? Easy, whatever. The deeper you get in there, the more you start interacting with like text. And the more you start interacting with text, the more you start interacting with obscure rules and weird workflows and odd little tools that you have no idea what they are. And eventually, you either go, I don't really want to play with that, or you go, ooh, this is interesting, this is exciting, I can do all this stuff. I was not in the second camp. I barely touched the terrain tools. I was like, no, goodbye, see you. Have fun with that, brother. I will enjoy whatever you make, and I'll do my own thing. I'll just play the game. I'll get really good at 1v1s on Warcraft. I want to play the Night Elves. That's the point of this game for me. And that's what I kept doing. And then I played some other games and some other games. And I played more and more games until eventually, one day, I got to a point where I went, why has nobody made this game that I really want? I really want this specific game, and it doesn't exist. And it's driving me crazy that it doesn't exist. And so I went, okay, I want to make this. I have a spin on this. I have this interesting idea. It's kind of big, though. So I'm not going to dive straight into it because I'm thinking through it. I'm imagining this game in my head, and I'm going, that's a lot of animation to make this into what I want it to be. That's a lot. Like, I have to learn so many different things on top of just developing a game, and the animation was kind of the most intimidating thing. So I went, what can I make that will be really easy to animate? And that's how I ended up making Soot. I was like, what is something that has very low art requirements and will give me a little bit of a footing and make me more comfortable with the idea of animating something, of making it move around in the world, of doing it at all. And so I made a platformer. And that's how I ended up making my first game. And in that process, I got excited about all of this, and I got excited about game development, was listening to game development podcasts, and I got involved with, Distinguished Humans Indie Game Dev Club, and I started making a segment for them at the same time that I started making my own show. And I loved it. It was very exciting. I was working a part-time job while making my game, while making this podcast, and occasionally playing a game. But at this point, playing games is taking a little bit more of a back seat because I'm just passionate. I'm just excited. I'm just going. And now, so I'm getting into the development stuff a lot, so maybe we hold off on that. But now I'm looking at games in general, and I'm going, what makes this one interesting to me? What is this mechanic? What is going on here? How did they make this? How complicated is this to design? Like, I've been playing Crimson Desert a little bit. I've been poking into it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how does this even exist? There's so many individual elements of that game that I look at and I go, I can't even imagine creating that one element. That must have been somebody's entire job and extremely specialized skill set, even leading up to just making a tree look good and wave around and be efficient enough to run at all. And actually maybe multiple people, right? You've got a lighting guy, you've got a modeler, you've got all these other things working together. And I look at indie games, and I look at the tiny little systems in them, and I go, how are all these things combined, and how are they putting this together, and how are they imagining it, and what was this like when they first started creating it, and what do I feel about it? What about this game makes me tick? What about this game is exciting, is bad, is good, is objectively good or objectively bad, which is a very interesting concept, but I do think there are objectively good and bad things in games, like design-wise. And yes, that's a tough one to try to make the argument for, but I do think that it is the case. It's more of a combination of elements that are together objectively bad than that any one element is objectively bad. But you get where I'm going with that, I think. So my relationship from games went from I'm playing Morrowind with my brother and learning about it from him, or I'm playing Warcraft 3 hyper competitively, by the way, just to like not competitively in terms of succeeding at it, but competitively in terms of my mindset, like extremely focused on getting good at it. Like, get home from school, instantly boot up Warcraft 3 and try to get good. Like, that was the goal. It was not just play matches. It was like get better and better and better as I'm playing. And playing Final Fantasy with my brothers and like sharing a save file and all these weird different experiences that were just like exciting and fun. And right now I'm in a phase with gaming where I go, which things are still exciting and fun to me? Where is the juice here? Because there's Crimson Desert is exciting and fun in a specific way. It is, oh, this is very cool, but it's not really hitting the thing. There Expedition 33 hit the thing. That made me go, oh, this is amazing. So storytelling, huge. Music, huge. Certain game mechanics, very important to me. Like the timing-based combat thing, incredible. And Expedition 33 is a game that I played and I went, oh, they made it. They made the game that I was wondering why nobody's made this. Like, I had a completely different angle on it, and I still do, and it's nothing like Expedition 33 at all. But one of the most important features of the idea that I had was a really good story, a JRPG with battle mechanics that are actually fun, right? I was like, why do we not have a turn-based JRPG with battle mechanics that are constantly engaging? And then I played Expedition 33, and I went, oh, there it is. Whoa, they really pulled it off on that one. But I've talked about that before. So the story arc of me just playing games, sucking at Sonic, playing some educational games, then Morrowind and Warcraft 3 and Diablo 2 and StarCraft, and playing with my brothers and playing Nox and doing LAN with them, and all of these different things that I've gone through with gaming is interesting to me. And a lot of this podcast has been an exploration of my relationship to gaming and how that connects to development. It's a messy exploration, but it's an exploration. And I think it's interesting to share all of this stuff. But most of all, this podcast was about. It's changing. Something is changing here. And that's part of this break that I'm going to take. It was about my excitement for developing altogether and me sort of saying games are feeding into my development, right? It was every time that I play a game, there's something from it that is going, ooh, what can I learn from this game? How does this game relate to developing games? What is it about this game that influences me? What is it about these games that I've played in the past? What is it about Legend of the Dragoon that makes me want to develop games? What is it about Stardew Valley that excites me? What is it about any particular old game? Splatterhouse 3, is that the one? What about that inspires me? And lately I don't think it's been about games as much. I think a lot of my episodes have been about like mindset, and I think it's falling into this weird space that is important, but not what I want to do, if that makes any sense. And I'll get into that more as we talk about development, because it's very closely tied in to that. Let's start this part of the episode by talking about the big picture game development changes, right? Like how things have changed over the course of my life and my relationship to that. And then we'll get into the weeds a little bit on this podcast and how I feel like it's taken a lean away from game development and towards like mindset stuff, which I don't really like and I'm trying to resist. And that's part of the whole taking a break from it. But we'll get into that. First, game development culture. There are people making a living not just off of game development, but off of telling you that you can develop games and teaching you how to do it. This might sound weird coming from me, but I am not one of those people, and I'm not trying to be one of those people. I don't want to make money off of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to sell you on the idea of making games. This podcast is intended to inspire people to say, you know what, this could be fun for me. I want to explore this. And maybe I'm going to do it just because I love it. And if it turns into something bigger, so be it. Cool. But mostly, I have something I want to express, and I'm going to do this through games, through music, through art, through whatever. That's sort of the angle that I like. That's the intention behind all of this. But there are channels that are just they are making a living trying to help people make a living off of game development. They are selling pickaxes. They are selling pickaxes to gold miners in game development. That is the best place to be during a gold rush. So there's that. That's how much it's changed, is what I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying this to slap those channels across the face, though there's one or two that I don't like at all. You know who they are. I know at least one of you knows who I'm talking about. But there are some that are amazing, by the way. Some of those are like genuinely deeply inspiring, and people just sharing their stories, and like they happen to make a little money off of it. Cool, fine. I have no problem with people making money off of it. I do have a problem with really weird incentives, like selling courses and so on. Anyway, I'm getting totally off track. But would it really be this show if I wasn't getting completely off track? I don't think so. So, the game development culture has shifted, is the point I'm making. Back in 2010, when I graduated high school and went into college, you would not have channels telling you how to make a game and how to get a publishing deal and so on YouTube. You would not have this culture around people making money off of telling you how to make a game or how to sell a game or selling you a bundle, a pack of whatever, of like, here's these assets that you can use to make your first game and get a publishing deal and so on, right? It just didn't exist as far as I know. Maybe it did. Maybe it's just that now I'm in the culture and I wasn't before. So you know what? Let's even disregard that, or let's undervalue that point that I just made, or make it less important in this conversation. I think it's valid, but let's de-emphasize it. I think the part I can emphasize is it used to be a lot easier to have an indie hit, right? You look at well, Minecraft is a weird one to call out, but I'm going to call out Minecraft. Minecraft came out around that window between when I entered and exited college. I think it was in alpha, probably my sophomore year of college, maybe. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to bother checking the dates, but it was in alpha somewhere between 2010 and 2014. And I remember it being in alpha and being like $5. Looking at it and going, this is so cool. This is so interesting. I remember in that same time period, Braid coming out and being like, oh, I don't know if I'm interested in that. And seeing people in the music lounge, in the music building where I went to college, playing Braid and being like, oh, what is that? That's interesting. I've never seen this before. And those were the indie hits. Then people were like, oh, this is this weird game that some guy made, and he's just like selling it on this app store or on his website. This was the early phase of like, you can buy this game from a weird location. This was before Steam really opened up the floodgates. This was before Unity and really just enabled absolutely everybody. Before Unreal became free for anybody to play around with and create a game and publish, right? Like before everything. Sorry, I don't know the exact terms of Unreal's license, so don't quote me too much on those. But this was before everything became so open for anybody to experiment with. This was before Godot was even in my mind at all. I don't know when Godot came into being, actually. It was a time period where the people who were making games had if they were making a good game, they had a pretty good shot, right? This is Super Meat Boy era? Is that right after? No, that was Super Meat Boy, I think, was when I was early in college or maybe late high school. I think that was end of high school. This was like the transition from like successful Flash creators into full game developer. It was a very different culture in a very different time, and there weren't that many games. And way before this, let's just rewind hard. Indie games did not exist. There were not, I mean, maybe, but not like they do now. Indie games were not it was like I made a company to publish this game, right? It was like Doom, it's like, oh, we've created a company, we've created this industry, we've created all of this stuff, and here's our game. it was a small team, but it wasn't like, oh, let me just release my game on Steam. I'm just going to make a game and release it on Steam. It's crazy that we have that ability at all. There are trade-offs that come with that. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of competition. There is the potential for a race to the bottom. There's a potential for it to become like the music industry, which is scary. Very concerning. I don't like subscriptions. I don't like things becoming like that. This is why I'm so against Game Pass and so on and so on. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know how to digest the changes in the game development market, like the whole thing. I don't know how to digest all of that. All I can say is I know where it's at now. I know where it used to be. And that's that. It used to be you could not make a game in your basement on a computer without a lot of knowledge, like without all the knowledge to make your own engine. And now you can download Godot and you can follow several tutorials, including their own documentation, and you can figure out how to make a game. And you can experiment. And you can even download some other tools to play with, not even pay a license for them, and start experimenting with like different audio stuff. You can have connected apps. You can just have a whole suite of things that are helping you develop a game that are all just like, once you start making money, we'll just get a cut, and you go, okay, cool, whatever. That's crazy. And the result of it is really weird, man. There's this really weird thing that has happened that is just like anybody can look at it and go, maybe I want to make a game. I'm going to be a game developer. And sometimes that is really good. And sometimes I think it's really bad. I think there are times when somebody gets invested in it, in the idea of it, and just devours all the tools without like having the space or the time or the having done the research while like quietly thinking about the game in the back of their head or something. There's like an overwhelm here. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean when I say it can be bad sometimes. I think there's a here's every tool and it makes you feel incompetent. You know? There's something about the wide open space of possibilities. It's like entering an open world game and having absolutely no tutorializing, no nothing, no comprehension of anything going on there, except the open world is a lot of documentation. That's a lot. And is the solution to make it easier? We've already made it so much easier. Is it more fun if it's easier? This goes back to games themselves. Like, Morrowind was really fun. I really enjoyed Morrowind. And there were things about it that were so confusing. There were so many games that I enjoyed because they were kind of confusing. And the more I understand games, the more I run into things where I go, seen it before. You know? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I've seen that before, so whatever. Anyway, next thing. Maybe it's nice when things are really confusing, just for a little bit, but still approachable. I realize on some level this could be twisted into an argument in favor of gatekeeping. And that's not really what I mean. But I do think it's important to acknowledge the impact that the wide open space of possibility has on your process, your creativity, your interest. Does it overwhelm? Do you need to eliminate directions that you can go? And that is interesting to me. And that's kind of how this podcast, I think, has gotten, I don't know if it's sidetracked or if it's going in a good direction, but let's get into this a little bit. I think I want this podcast to be creatively inspiring on some level, but I don't want it to be guys saying you can accomplish your dreams and make $1 million and make your game and blah, blah, blah. Because honestly, I don't really care. I don't care if you make a bunch of money off your game. I do care if you feel fulfilled making a game. I do care if you love making games, if you love working on art and music and design and mechanics and all these weird things. and just messing with a story and messing with a cool idea and just playing around, I am invested in that. I want to hear your stupid ideas. I want to hear you get really excited about something that is totally not viable financially. I want you to get really excited about something that is just like the kind of thing that you start telling a stranger about at a party, and they're like, man, that guy really just can't stop talking about freaking what if bananas ruled the world? Like, why is he on this? Why does he keep talking about what if bananas had eyeballs? I don't care if bananas have eyeballs, but this guy cornered me at this party and he wouldn't shut up about it. I want that. I want to hear that. I want to listen to you rant about some dumb little idea that nobody cares about. Obviously, I can't. I can't actually listen to you do that. But that's the kind of passion that I want to inspire. That's the thing that I not even inspire. That's weird. That I want to cultivate. I don't know. I want this podcast to be a place of, oh, you got this crazy idea and it's not ever going to make any money, or maybe it will, but like, can we just not care about that for a minute? Can we just make stuff for the sake of making stuff? Can we not write a book to get it published? Can we not create a game in order to sell copies? Can we not create art in order to make money? Can we not just get into that weird mindset of like, well, why am I even creating art if AI can do it just as well? No, you're creating art because you love creating art. You're creating music because you want to express something deep inside of you that you can't put into words. You're creating a game because you want to play with people. You're creating stuff because it's freaking cool. And that is what I want to embrace. And I think that somehow, some way, maybe it's like a cultural force, maybe it's something about me trying to do this podcast every single week, maybe it's just something in my head. Somehow I've fallen down the track of like, how do we move towards really being productive and consistently developing? Like there's this thing going on where it's like, how do I develop every week? How do I make more progress? I need to make progress on development. It's like, it's not about that, man. And I don't like how much it's become about that. And it's not that it's coming from anywhere else. It's coming from my head. It's this system of beliefs that's deeply ingrained in me that's like, if I'm not moving towards this goal every week, I'm somehow failing. And I don't know, maybe like I like an element of consistently moving towards this goal, because otherwise I look at it 3 years down the road and I go, why did I never do what I love? You know, and that's tragic. We can't have that. So there's a complicated balance there. And I like having the podcast every week to kind of keep me feeling like I'm moving towards that goal. But let's be honest, I'm not actually moving towards that goal right now. The podcast is talking about weird mindset stuff. It's not really about game development. It's not about design. It's not about any of the actual creating of games. It's about feeling like creating games. It's about talking about creating games, even if you're not actually creating them. It's the guy who goes, man, I would love to learn to play piano, and he's been talking about it for 3 years. At the beginning of this podcast, I was making games and I was talking about it and I was excited and it was connected to it. And right now, I'm the guy talking about creating games and I'm not like making them. And I'm not saying that I have to be making them either. I'm just saying that it's gotten weirdly disconnected. And I don't know if you relate to this at all. But I think that one of the most important things in my life, maybe that's a big statement, but one of the most important things creatively for me is just making things, just creating for the sake of creating and then sharing it. And right now, I want to focus on that. I think that's important. And I don't have that much time day to day, right? I've kind of got a lot of stuff pressing down on me in terms of time. And I'd like to use that time for genuinely creating. And that is what I want to redirect towards. Because I do feel like I'm failing myself right now on this podcast. and I don't know why. And I have to give myself space from it so I can understand how I can serve myself instead of having just a weird, just a very strange relationship with creating the podcast. I've overshared dramatically. But that is kind of what this podcast is. I overshare dramatically pretty consistently. And that is where I'm at. That's what I've got. I'll figure out some nice way to wrap this up. I won't really have a question for you this week. But the plan is come back June 8th and we'll go into it. And maybe June 8th we'll be like, hey guys, actually I'm going to only do podcasts when I feel like it. Or maybe it'll be, oh, actually, I'm really enjoying not podcasting and I'm creating a lot more stuff. And maybe I'll just come back to it one day when I'm ready to, when I have a little more game dev stuff to share. Or maybe I'll immediately be like, I'm so excited about this game. I have no idea why I stopped the podcast. I've been wanting to talk to you guys for a month, right? Who knows? We're going to find out. You know what? That is everything I have for you today. I've got the Discord. You can hop into the Discord. You can hit me up. You can chat with me. You can shoot me a message. If you at me on the Discord, I will actually notice your message. If you don't at me, I will not notice your message. So if there's something you just want me to see, you can just throw my at the end of it, right? Or if you just want to be like, oh, I want Chris to be involved in the conversation at all, just hit me with it. If there's something you think I'm curious about, because I don't have notifications on my phone, because I have done a lot of stuff in my life in an attempt to create space for myself to think clearly, including turn off almost every notification. You can also email me at anxiousbuddhagames@gmail.com. That also has notifications on, for now. I can leave it like that because there aren't tons of people emailing me, because this podcast is tiny. I'm still in the Discord. I'm still hanging out. I've got notifications on my phone to tell me, like I've got alarms set to be like, hey, Chris, make that next episode. So June 8th, we're coming back. Usual time. No worries. But it hasn't felt right. And I got to look at it and go, why? Let's just stop thinking about what am I going to do next episode? What am I going to do next episode? And just reset, take some space, and really make this podcast what it needs to be. Make it feel right. Yeah, that's what I got for you. Feel free to hit me up. You know where to. I just listed everything. That's everything for this week. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Until next time, get out there, and for the love of God, man. Don't just make stuff. If you don't even have to make stuff, but just have fun with it. Just whatever you do, try to have a little fun with it, or enjoy it. If you're not even having fun, enjoy it somehow. Goof around, That's everything. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.